Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Darkwoods Paranormal, where every haunted destination begins with a road, a story, and the people we met along the way. Darkwoods Paranormal is proudly produced by Unbox Medium LLC, a consulting and medium company dedicated to helping business, organizations, creators, and entrepreneurs bringing their vision to life. I keep on saying mediums. It is actually a media, but it's because we have such a wonderful guest on tonight. From podcast production and content creation to branding, businesses, consulting, marketing strategy, and media development. Unbox Media LLC specializes in helping individuals and companies think bigger, communicate better, and grow stronger. To learn more about our wonderful Unbox Media LLC, who are our sponsors tonight, visit them at unboxmediallc.com. Now, for those joining us for the first time, welcome. I am Gabriel Von Graves, and I'm, of course, here with my host and friend, co-host, actually producer Raven Knight, whose passion for the paranormal and dedication to uncovering the truth continues to make every investigation an unforgettable experience. Raven, it's good to have you. It feels like we haven't done this in years.
It feels like 17 years, actually, if you want to
I was going to say 20, but okay.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Close. Long time. I'm happy we're here. I'm happy we're back. I'm super
Yes.
excited. Yes.
Well, tonight we are honored to welcome a very special guest whose journey into mediumship began at a remarkably young age. Colleen, better known throughout the paranormal community as Medium Red, discovered early in life that she experienced the world differently than most children. At just 5 years old, she began seeing colors surrounding people and communicating with spirits. One of her earliest memories involving having a tea party with her grandfather. That's actually kind of cool. Now, despite the fact that he had passed away before she was old enough to even know him. Although her experiences were initially discouraged, her father and grandmother quietly supported her gifts, encouraging her to continue exploring what would eventually become a long life calling. That's great. Years later, a conversation with paranormal television personality Amy Bruni. By the way, are we still getting her on the program, Amy?
We're going to try to get her on the program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we love her. We love Adam Berry.
Adam Berry's cool too, yeah. Well, inspired Medium Red to embrace her abilities fully rather than hide them. That encouragement led her to study within a paranormal church and train under respected psychic medium Susan Grayson. She later continued her education with renowned psychic medium Cynthia Kizak. I didn't say her last name right, did I?
Keza.
Keza? Oh, I don't know. All right. Known for her work on the Hoser Files and the Dead Files, completing multiple levels of advanced training and mentorship. That's very cool. Today, Medium Red, I love that name, works as an psychic medium helping individuals connect with loved ones who have crossed over while also assisting paranormal teams throughout the country. That's awesome. She has worked with Kaha Crew Paranormal. I didn't say that right either, did I? Okay. All right. Participated in residential investigations and appeared on numerous paranormal podcasts and medium platforms. Good for you. She's also featured on the television projects Spirit Chasers and Paranormal Unvisited, where she helps uncover the stories behind reportedly haunted locations while supporting her findings through historical documentation and research. And I gotta tell you, that's fantastic. Most people just go into a place, but without a history, you don't have a future, so I love that. With hundreds of successful readings performed both in person and remotely, her reputation for accuracy has earned her a signature phrase many of her clients know well, nailed it. Is that correct? That's cool. I love that. Her mission is simple but profound, to help bridge the gap between the living and the deceased. This evening, we will be discussing mediumship, psychic development, investigations, life after death, spirit communication, and some of the fascinating cases that have shaped her journey. So settle in, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for a fascinating conversation. Once again, I'm Gabriel Von Graves, joined by my co-host Raven Knight. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming tonight's guest, Medium Red. How you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you guys so much for having me on. What a pleasure to meet both of you.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here as well. Like Gabriel was saying, it felt like forever since we've done a show, so we're super happy to
It was only a couple weeks, but it feels like forever.
Yeah, I know how that is.
We went from Wisconsin to Kentucky to West Virginia, then all the way back to Wisconsin.
Wow. That is a trek for sure.
You know, it was like 15, 16-hour drive with just Raven and I trying to figure out conversations, picking apart each other because we were bored. Just, you know, yeah, it was great.
I don't think any of that is true.
You know, listen, there's a point where you start wanting to make arguments with people you don't even know because you're bored.
Because I'm hangry and I have crappy coffee most days.
Crappy coffee, medium red. So I don't want to make fun of Casey's. I don't know if you have a Casey's where you are, but they seem to be always the one we end up getting stuck with coffee, unless they want to, you know, be a sponsor. Your coffee sucks, Casey.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Listen, it's not good. You know,
2 in the morning and we're driving.
Mornings, you know. I mean, I told Raven, I get it. I'm a coffee girl in the morning. I got to have my coffee before I actually even like start to think. Let me tell you,
I'm a coffee girl in the morning too. I need that.
Cindy Keza, when I was doing my classes with her, because of the time difference, literally I'd get up on a Sunday morning and it would be like 8 o'clock my time, and it would probably be like, I think it's 11 o'clock her time, and then she'd be like, okay, now get somebody in 5 minutes right now, and I'm like, I haven't even had a sip of coffee. Can't do it.
It is hard on the road when you have crappy coffee, you know?
It is.
I'm a big Caribou or Cabin coffee, and I couldn't find anything. We had a Starbucks. It really wasn't that bad. You know, I'm not a Starbucks guy, but I'm like, you know what, Starbucks, in a pinch, you're better than Casey's.
Well,
you know?
it's desperation. I get it. It's
desperation. It's desperation. I was willing to chew on grounds. That's how bad it was. You know?
I probably would have done that too, though.
Well, you know, those little chocolate-covered coffee beans are not that bad.
They're really good.
They're not. I get those. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
So, medium red. First of all, I love it. I love your name.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on. Tell us about yourself.
Well, basically, you know, like you were saying in the intro, I knew
the wonderful intro we just all heard. That one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was.
I didn't know which one. My bad.
He fishes a lot, just so you know, medium red. He hates fishing, but he goes fishing. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Coming. You know, love it.
No, the tea party, Rob the tea party, and that's very accurate. I literally one day was in my bedroom and I had a little square table. I had a doll in one, I had a bear in another, an empty seat, and then where I was sitting, and literally, you know, I'm having this full-on conversation, and my mom walks in the door and looks around and says, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "Well, Pap." And that's what his name was, is for grandfather. And I said, Pap. And she's like, no, you're not. He's dead. And I'm like, I know. He's sitting right there. I'm 5, you know, cocky, redhead, you know, what can I say?
Right.
And she's like, that's not feasible, you know. And she's highly Catholic. And, you know, when you die, you go to heaven. You never come back. There's not any of this kind of stuff that basically I'm doing now, that you can talk to spirits and they come back and visit, stuff like that. Nope. You know, basically squash that gift, get rid of it. You don't do that. And I remember sitting there like just stumped, you know, looking at my grandfather going, well, I don't really want to not talk to you anymore. I don't really want to see you. You know, a little 5-year-old brain is telling me like I need to give him up. And it's like, no, I don't want to. He just looked at me and said, make up an imaginary friend. You'll be golden. You know what? That's what I did. The next time my mom came in, heard me talking, I paused. I looked at her and said, I'm talking to my imaginary friend, Hockey.
And she's like, oh, carry on. Have a good night. Yeah.
Yeah. She left me alone. Apparently, it's good to have an imaginary friend, but it's not good to be able to talk to your deceased loved one,
right.
You know?
Now, when you try that when you're adult, they just lock you up. So I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The little guys come with the little white, you know, jackets, you know.
And they're like, Gabe, let's go for a ride. I'm like, no, I don't want to go.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're adults now. We're like, anytime that you want to get me away from here, that's okay. Like,
yeah, exactly. I'm like, solitary confinement, quiet. Oh,
you know,
no other people. Let's do it.
Yeah. I the prison, I'd be able to work on my fitness a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
I really get so fit.
Yeah, I'd be somebody's girlfriend, so I don't want to do that.
Would you be the big spoon or the little spoon?
I would be the little spoon. I'd be very popular in prison. I'm not interested. So.
They'd like your beard.
They're like, Gabe comes to my lap, tell me a story. I'm like, no.
Come
I don't
here,
warn the
little
guests
one.
It's all wrong. I love it.
Okay,
We
so
digress.
anyway, so you went from there. So you created an imaginary friend to basically, you know, how long after this did your pep come and visit you? Was this like consistently? Was it?
Oh yeah,
long?
consistently. Even up to this day, he still visits and we still talk. I kind of factor him more as a spirit guide. I have 5 spirit guides I've determined it through classes and just through meditation and talking to them. My mother is now on the other side, and she is a big fan and proponent of it now too, which has been like 180-degree turnaround, which has been amazing for me, because I was always very hesitant to tell her anything about the gift prior to her dying and really understanding it. She would not have been a proponent of it then. But it's basically my mom and my dad, my grandmother and grandfather. But then I have a 5th spirit guide who, he's a smart ass, and I love him dearly. And I learned a lot about spirit guides from him. It's amazing. And I say he because he generally appears most likely as a man in most cases. But I never really could understand until I sat down and really had a conversation with him as to understanding, why do I hear a man's voice and why do I hear a woman's voice? There's times when I'm sitting with a reader and I'm reading somebody, and all of a sudden the information that I'm getting from him will be very male and dominated voice. And there's times when I hear very much a woman's voice. So I was like, okay, at one point I thought I had 2 different spirit guides. Well, in reality, it's the same spirit guide. And when I asked him, you know, what his name was, he says, it's not something you need to know. And I'm like, are you male or female? There is no male or female on the other side. We only do that for humans. So how do I know you? You know me from Mesopotamia days, from a past life. But this was the best part. Before he said that, he said, I was assigned to you. And a really big sigh. And I'm like, am I that difficult to deal with? So yeah, I mean, he was assigned to me, and I guess I knew him from a past life, and he's neither male nor female. And then we flash forward a little bit, and then I had Cindy Keza do some of her encaustic art. She does this commissioned art that she does usually around Christmas time. So I bought myself a gift, and she knew nothing about my spirit guides. You know, we just don't really get into that in the mentorship classes. It's all about practice and learning who they are and talking to them. It's less of, I need to know who they are. You need to know who they are. So she knew nothing about my spirit guides whatsoever, and she came up with this encaustic drawing of a person that looks part male, part female. And when she channeled to get the name, she got the name Asim, A-S-E-M. Well, I'm already sitting there Googling it. And of course, you know, this is why I call him a smartass. Asim is Arabic, meaning neither she nor he. So I got a name, but it's not really a name.
Yeah.
When you say assigned, I've never heard that before. What does that mean? Did he commit suicide or something that then he had to do some kind of
community work?
Yeah.
For me.
Right.
That's basically, I mean, apparently I've known him from another life, and I don't know if it, you know, again, not really knowing so much about the other side yet, because, you know, I'm just a medium. I can only talk to them. I'm only allowed to know certain things to be able to divulge to other people. I would assume that maybe a higher up person, or maybe it was somebody that, you know, maybe it was my soul, you know, I was recreated, and I said, nope, you know, I'm assigning you to be my spirit guide in this life. I'm not sure who assigned him. It could have been me just as easily as I did, you know, if that makes sense.
When you say that you're only allowed to know certain things, is there a secrecy that they cannot let you know some stuff?
And they're very vocal about it too.
Yeah.
It's a need to know basis. It really is a need to know basis. You need to know this. This is what you're going to tell them. I mean, it's not, there's stuff that they don't tell me, and I'll ask the question, and nope, that's not for you to know.
What stuff do they talk about? What it feels like to be on the other side? Do they talk about that there is God, there's not a God? What do they not? What are they not allowed to talk about?
Well, I wouldn't know necessarily what they're not allowed to talk to. I know about some things that I've asked questions on, more on the psychic level, like saying, for instance, somebody wanted to know if this particular person who was ill, were they going to live or die? That's something that I'm not going to be told. That is not within my hands to know. That's destiny. That's their soul contract. That's what they need to go through, and that's not for me to know. They may tell me something else differently. It might be something you read between the lines. It just depends on each case. But yeah, that's kind of the same situation where, if I want to know what the winning lottery numbers are, I'm not going to get that.
So they can't impede on the future. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's kind of what I'm getting. They can't divulge anything that'll change somebody's course already.
Correct. Exactly. We all have a life path, and it's a contract that we have to fulfill, and that's the final bottom line. That's nothing for me to mess with.
That's interesting. So before we get into your, sorry, Raven. Before we get into some of the stuff that you've investigated, is there anything that you've learned as a medium that has shocked you when it comes to the other side?
Yeah, I've had some shocking, I guess, experiences that I didn't think that I would ever be able to have. I guess I would say it that way. I guess but I guess what I'm really most shocked about is the fact that when I talk to people that have died, they're happy, they're peaceful, they want people to know that they're okay, and that this is not as scary as what we humans imply or put on death. And that's shocking to me, that it's the unknown. How do you, we all want to know what it's like on the other side, but
until you're there, then so you're no longer,
right. Yeah.
Have you had the chance to, is there different plateaus, like let's say heaven and hell? Is there a underworld where you've had the opportunity, if there is, to talk to anybody, and there is that pain that comes with being associated with going to hell? Is there a heaven and hell?
I don't feel that there's a heaven and a hell. They've never told me that. Now I could justify them putting themselves in their own hell. I've investigated places where I've met a prisoner at a jail who felt that what he did horribly in his living days, that he was not worthy of progressing to the next level. So he called it his own private hell, because he basically was kind of I would classify it as purgatory in a nutshell, because he's choosing not to go to the next level. So he's in a limbo land state of mind. He's not of this world, he's not of that world, he's kind of in between. And to hear him talk about, what things he's done and he's so ashamed of and so sorry, but yet he doesn't feel like he could move on to the next level, is just really, that I guess that would be shocking too. I could call that shocking as well.
That's very fascinating. When you were studying to be a medium, what was the process? Is it a lot of meditation, or is it understanding what it is to be a medium?
It's more about understanding what a medium is and what you're going to go through, more so than anything else. And constant practicing. Like with Cindy and even with Susan, we would do group sessions where it'd be complete strangers that would walk in, and we'd sit down and basically do a gallery reading style on people. Each of us mediums would take one 15-minute round, and basically do a reading for somebody that was in the audience. So, and that's probably the most intimidating thing to do, is to be vulnerable in front of a group of people, to show that, first of all, you don't know if they're skeptics, you don't know if they're true believers, etc. So you're basically, being very vulnerable in front of them and showing them your gift, and hoping that they're not going to judge you or crucify you on the cross either, or like you said, get the little white guys jackets to lock you up,
So when you say that giving readings, this is a two-parter. What is a reading, and then what is being a medium? What is being a medium? What does that mean?
The first part of that, when doing a reading for somebody, is
Mm-hmm.
basically like, say, for instance, Raven contacts me and she would like to have a reading. Then I set up a time for her and we sit down and I'll channel to find out who I get around her. And I'll say, okay, I'm picking up on a man that has darker hair, wears glasses, looks like he was in his 50s, may have died of a heart attack, getting the name Robert or something like that. And then I start, she starts validating that information by saying, oh, that's my great grandfather, Robert, he died of diphtheria. And, we start
Mm-hmm.
talking about what's the message that he has to relate to her. Or maybe she's lost a very good friend and she wants to focus in on just that particular person. I can channel and try to bring them up and talk to them, and she can have an opportunity to say what she didn't get to say to them before they passed. So that's more like the readings that I will give to people. A medium, I basically tell people, like you said, bridge the gap between the living and the dead. I'm able to walk both this side of the world and their side of the world and be able to gather information and bring it back to discuss with you guys and let you be able to at least connect with your loved ones. So, or the funny way I say it is I see and talk to dead people.
I love that.
So how did you get from, your original story, right? How did you go from that originally and then decide that this is something that you wanted to pursue more, that this was something that you knew was part of your story?
Well, you can only you can only dodge it so many times before the floodgates open up. I'll tell you that for sure. I basically kind of tabled the gift. Once I got into high school and college, and then I met my first husband and got married, and I was a very career-oriented, driven person. Even though I still could see and hear people and obviously see people's colors and auras, that really helped me in business quite a bit too, understanding the auras and knowing, who to do business with and who not to do business with. It was quite inspiring in that aspect. I got divorced and met my new husband, and he's in the concert business and works for a local promoter here. And we had Amy Bruni. They had bought the show, is what they call it in the promoter land, is they buy a show, bring it to the Valley. And in this case, it was Amy Bruni, and she was doing stories of her investigations with Adam Berry, and also talking about her new book that she had just written. And she was having some PowerPoint presentation issues. And my husband said, I'll run to Best Buy and go get that, thingamajigger cable that you need. And I sat down and had a good 30-minute conversation with her, entertaining her while we were waiting for the technical difficulties to be ironed out. So she just asked me one day, like 1 minute, she's like, what's your deal? What do you do? And what, and I told her, well, I dabble in this and dabble in that. And I've always had my little pinky toe in the paranormal world for a long time. It's always fascinated me from when I was a teenager in the 80s, and made friends with a very good friend here, Debbie Branning, who's a local author and had worked with ghost hunters as well as a researcher for ghost hunters. And so just kind of giving some background story to, Amy Bruni. And she just kind of stopped and paused a moment and just said, why aren't you using your gift? She goes, that's just crazy that you have this gift, but yet you're not even using it. Because she's like, the real mediums out there are very difficult to find. And I didn't realize that until actually getting into it, as we were talking backstage. I didn't realize that was such a big thing, but it is. And she's like, you should just take a class to see if you can do it, and I thought, well, okay, I'll take a class and see if I can do it. So I did, and I was like blown away. And so then I just thought, okay, let the gift open, let's just do it. And then it was like, wow, crazy, floodgates opened up. And my current husband didn't even know this. I never told him. So that was really kind of a funny story.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he knows now.
Oh, it was a funny story for him because his mom, I had met his mom, and like a month later she had a stroke, and she was really like in a bad state. And so a few months go by, and then it's like you get the call, like mom's not going to last much longer type of thing. So he was going to board a plane, and he was running late, trying to get his clothes in the suitcase, and he was like literally panicking about trying to get there on time. And I paused and I told him, I said, you need to call your sisters. And he's like, I don't have time. I said, you need to call your sisters because you only have 30 minutes. He's like, I'll make the plane. He was thinking I was talking about him physically making the plane. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Your mom is not lasting more than 30 minutes. And just at that moment, the phone rang, and it was his sister saying, don't get on the plane. Mom has 30 minutes to live.
Wow.
And, he's on the phone. He kind of looks at me like that and then continues on, talks to his mom at least to be able to say goodbye to her and stuff like that, hangs up the phone. And then he just kind of pauses a moment and looks at me and said, "We need to talk." And I said, "Did you see those Dolphins? They played really well last Sunday night." And then, of course, I had to tell him what was going on. And he was very skeptical at first. He's a bean counter. He's very black and white. He's an accountant. So it's not something that he can very, very much wrap his mind around. And he'll tell you in conversations, like, "I totally believe her and I'm blown away at what she can do. I'm skeptical about the rest of the world in regards to the paranormal world, but I believe her and what she can do because I've seen her, in action." He goes, "And I have no explanation for it whatsoever. I can't tell you how she does it or anything about it." So, but it was quite funny.
That's very interesting. I want to circle back to something that you said actually as you were telling that story, which was it's kind of hard to come by good mediums. We've had mediums on the show before. We've actually, some of the stuff that you said actually kind of is some of the stuff they've said as well, but we've met some mediums. We know that people will go out there and say they're mediums and they'll just try to make money. But how can you tell? Like, if I was going, like you were saying, like, "Hey, Raven wants to get a reading," I would love one. But how do I know who is a good medium and who isn't? Is there a way to tell if I was, genuinely trying to find somebody?
Well, first of all, I would tell you to trust your gut instinct 100%, because most people that I've talked to that have had a reading by somebody that was not real, they've always said to me, "I knew something was off, but I just didn't trust my gut instinct, or I didn't really listen to that inner voice that I had. And therefore, when I sat down and she's bringing up Billy, and I don't know a Billy in my life, and, and she wants a lot of money, she wants $1,500, and she's not Tyler Henry or Teresa Caputo or any of the big names out there, you kind of have to weed between them. I always like to have like a consultation with somebody prior to a reading so that we both talk to each other and just get a sense of whether or not you like me or I like you, because not every medium is for everyone. And I've come across that where maybe I'm not the one for you, but say my girlfriend Emily Ann, who's in the Appalachian Mountains, is for you, and I would quickly refer you over to her if I felt like that connection wasn't there. So I always encourage people to try to talk to the person just on a general basis before even just, here's my credit card, charge it,
Right.
Just kind of get that baseline foundation with the individual. I mean, you're hiring this person to delve into some personal things for yourself. I would want that person to be legit in this case,
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. That's a good point. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your investigations? You are also a investigator, correct?
I am. I consult with 2 local teams, Mackinville and Cahal crew here in Arizona. I just recently joined Shared Paranormal, and they're in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. And I can do it remotely. So I just helped him out on an investigation that he did over Memorial Day weekend at a location called Pear Cheney, and it was a little 1869 or 70 village that was wiped out by diphtheria. Wow. And quite a sad thing, where even towards the end of the demise of the town was basically shove people in a building and light it on fire, because you can't trust if they do or do not have the illness. So quite a traumatic, turn of events for that particular town. So that was an interesting one, because I did that remotely, from here in Scottsdale, Arizona to, Michigan, which, is really crazy for a lot of people to understand that mediums don't necessarily have to be in the location to be able to channel to get the information that they need to discuss. So one of the 2 that I really think of quite, shocking is I had an investigation in Globe, Arizona about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And in Globe, it's an old mining town. They did silver and copper, and I like to not know anything about these particular buildings when I'm going to go in and do them, because I want I want to be able to enjoy them in their full capacity and get the full capacity of feeling or knowing or whatever it may be that the ghosts are trying to, to tell me. So I literally was like at 4:00 in the afternoon preparing to drive down a Globe. It's about a 2-hour drive from my house. And I started feeling sick. I started feeling like I was getting the flu. And I kept thinking, oh, great, this is just like the most inopportune time. I'm, set up to do a gallery reading for the people. It's a free public event. I'm there to do a gallery reading in front of these people. And if I don't feel good, I can't do it.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, it's going to be fine. I'm going to power through this. I'll get through this. And the closer I kept getting to Globe, the more the symptoms started to amplify. I started feeling all like hot, like I was getting a fever. My ears turned red, which is a very indicator for me to be that I'm having a fever. I'm sweating, and it's like 67 degrees in the car, and I'm achy, and I feel like I'm going to throw up. Yet I haven't eaten because I don't eat before an investigation, and I just can't put my thumb on this why I'm feeling this way, and not thinking that it's the building. I'm thinking it's me, that I did, that I'm getting sick. Right. And by the time I made it to the building, the lead investigator came up to the car, and I just remember having my head on the steering wheel going, all right, it's the building. What's with this building? This building's making me ill. So we always do a walkthrough, a preliminary walkthrough to the building, and I'll tell the lead investigator, like, I'm picking up this, and this, and then we'll reverse it and come back through the building, and he'll say yes, no, whatever, if I'm not getting it right. And this one room I would not go into. I just kind of peeked in, and I pushed myself out, and he's like, are you okay? And I said, no, I don't want to go in there. It's hot and sweaty, and it smells like, decomposing bodies. And he just looked at me, doesn't give me any information by facial expression that I'm right or wrong. So when we got to that room, and he said, you're right. He goes, this is where they used to stack the bodies. And I told him, I said, I see like wood casket upon all the way up to the ceiling. And he said, you're right. He goes, that's exactly what happened. He goes, this was used as an interim storage unit for these bodies until the train could come in and grab them. They'd roll up the door, throw the bodies onto the train, and take them up to the cemetery. So, and I said, yes, but I said, it's the way they died. There's something about the way they died. And all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, was this the flu, like the Spanish flu? And he's like, yes. He goes, they had the most amount of bodies in here that had experienced the Spanish flu and had died. All of a sudden I grabbed my phone and I started Googling Spanish flu symptoms, and I exhibited all of them. And I said, I have the Spanish flu. And I don't really have it, but I was experiencing it. And this was what was really interesting. It wasn't the people or the spirits that were making me sick. It was the energy imprint on the building. The building was imprinted by the death and by the sickness, and it was affecting me because of the energy that was lasting on the building, which was crazy.
That is Absolutely. Crazy. That is a wild story. And if you think of like Alamo or any place like Gettysburg, even, they say that all of the energy from everything that's happened there is also in that land or in that space.
Have other get rid of it.
No. Did anyone else in that group experience symptoms or anything like that? It was just you.
Just me.
You're so open, probably. You're so able to
right.
pick up on it because, yeah.
Exactly. Well, and to that other point too, Raven, I couldn't even go in the building and last longer than 10 minutes. Otherwise, I was looking for like the industrial trash cans that they had around, the commercial trash cans around the building. And at one point, I remember I was upstairs, and it was just like they were timing it. They literally were timing it. I was up there, and I was trying to read in the room and picking up on a gentleman that had died of TB up there. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I gotta go. And I'm like, ran down the stairs, and I went all the way to the edge of the sidewalk to where the street was to at least try to be able to go, okay, I can breathe now. But literally, like, I left the building 10 miles outside of Globe, totally fine. Not an issue, wasn't sick. Everything went away, color restored back to normal again. It was just wild, completely wild.
Do you have a lot of physical elements like that you run into as a medium?
I do. It just depends on how the spirit wants to show me. In this case, it was the building that was really affecting me. But I actually, and you got to be careful when you talk to spirits and tell them, like, show me how you die. because I was in Clifton, which is near Globe. It's another hour out of Globe, and it's another Clifton, Morenci is a huge mining town again, silver and copper. And we were in a little hotel called the Clifton Hotel, and there is a woman who was a lady of the night. And even prior to going to that investigation, again, knowing nothing about, I knew that it's a town of miners, you know, that's about the only thing I know from, you know, Arizona history classes here. Sitting there with my husband one night on the sofa, and all of a sudden I'm like gurgling. I mean, I'm literally going like this, and I'm grabbing my throat and going, I can't even make the noise anymore. But he freaked out and thought he had to call 911. And I kept saying, you know, like trying to stop him, because it wasn't so much of that. It was the fact that I was getting like a premonition of what had happened at the hotel. And it was this woman showing me she had her hair, you know, had her hair up, but it was really loosely down, which wasn't at the time. So it showed me that, and she was in this white, very see-through negligee type cotton dress that you could see through, and I instantly knew that it was a lady of the night. And she showed, and I've never seen this hotel before, she showed me the hotel, and she was standing in front of the hotel, and she was standing sideways, and you could see an arm. I couldn't see behind her, but an arm came up and grabbed her, and a big knife just went like this and slit her throat. So when I was gurgling, it was me gurgling from her dying, you know, from being her throat cut. So when I went to the hotel, I went to her room and said, all right, show me your death. Well, my husband was in Las Vegas and I'm in Clifton, Arizona. And I literally was in the hotel in her room's now a bathroom. And I'm in the bathroom and I'm standing there talking to her. And the next thing you know, I'm sitting down with my knees up to my chest. And then the next thing I know, I'm literally getting ready to fall over onto the floor. And then the lead investigator goes, get her out, pull her out, pull her out, pull her out. She's going to hit her head. So they grabbed me out and pulled me into the room. And it was right about the time that she had died. It took her 23 minutes to die in that room. So I was in there for 23 minutes and I was literally experiencing her death as if I had my throat cut. They took photographs of me, and yes, I'm pale, but I was even paler, like I had no color whatsoever. And I couldn't feel my hands, I couldn't feel my arms, couldn't feel my feet, I couldn't feel my legs. And we had a hospice nurse that was on the team, and she just said, she goes, that's exactly what happens when you die. When you're getting ready to die, your core shuts down your extremities to preserve your brain and heart. So she says the fact that you were tingling and you couldn't feel your hands and your feet, and I could barely walk, they were trying to pull me out into the outside and to get fresh air, because I was like literally dead. And of course my phone's dinging going, what is going on? Why? This is not a game. Are you okay? And it's my husband, who's like literally how many miles away in Las Vegas on a show, and he feels that something's wrong with me, going, and he's like contacting my girlfriend going, is she okay? You know? And I mean, it was freaky. It took me about 12 hours to actually feel like I was normal again.
Wow.
I like at that point I said, I'm done. And I went to my room and went to bed. I was
That's
over
a
it.
wonderful experience. So
It was.
to add to that, do you always feel the physical side? Have you ever felt the spiritual side, where it feels like where your soul actually leaves and you go to the light or the non-light? Would you mind speaking about that?
I have had that too. I've experienced it as well. And it's so funny because my spirit guides won't let me go any further than that. But it's very very wild to see. It's almost like a witness. You're standing back and watching the other spirit as the other spirit is trying to walk towards the light, and you feel like you're in, it's so bright, it's blinding to you almost in a sense, and it's very warm and very peaceful. And that's about the gist of what I got from it. I mean, because I just, every time I wanted to proceed, I felt like I was being held back in that position. Like, nope, this is observation deck only, not participation. It's very wild.
So on the opposite side, not to be the downer, is there a opposite effect where something drags people down, as in demons? I mean, you know, I believe in demons. I believe that there are entities out there that have ill intention. Have you ever experienced that aspect of it?
Not so much the dragging down aspect. I did encounter a demon in Clifton as well. The apothecary, which is across the street, it's an old wood building, and a woman had been living there because she had rooms upstairs that she would use for the boarders. She explained a story, and I didn't hear the story because I was late to the game. I didn't get into that part of the building until almost halfway through the conversation. So I had no idea what was being said. But when I went into the building, and she had already told her story, I happened to look up at this very small loft. It was probably about 4 feet. There was no way anybody, it was like a crawl space essentially, and it was a storage space that you could see into from the apothecary. And I remember just looking up and seeing, and I have an artist that I work with, and I'll type up the description, and then he'll literally draw up for me what I see. And he's very spot on with what I come up with. It's amazing. And that's one that I definitely want to have him do. But it was an entity that felt like he was at least 8 foot tall, and he was hunched over because obviously he didn't fit into the 4 foot space. He had fully formed curled horns, and they were like 2.5 curls, and these long nails that just were like curled out, and long fingers. And I just remember looking up going, hell no. And I kind of backed away a little bit, and we had 2 different photographers with us, and strictly for this reason. And so I tapped one on the shoulder and tapped one on the shoulder and pointed up to the loft and said, take photographs here. I'll see you outside. And then I went outside, and I'm like, and the woman came after me, the owner came after me, and so she told me the story. She said that she had a young kid he was a boarder passing through. She felt like something was off, so she went upstairs and let herself in, and there was an upside down pentagram, and he had candles, obviously lit, real candles lit, but he had gone to work. And so she was more upset about the candles on the wood building than the fact that he had summoned a demon, and that, she had a demon in her building. And so when the guy came back, she kicked him out. And I said, you kicked him out before he closed the portal, and before you kicked out the host. He's the host. And she had to live with it. She had to live with this demon with her. And she had had cases where she was levitated off the bed. She's like, you need to help me. And I'm like, I'm not a demonologist and an exorcist. I can't do any of that. I said, you need somebody like that. There was a gentleman that was traveling, and he was with the Mormon church. He goes, well, I'm a high priest. I can get rid of him. I said, it is beyond your pay grade, honey. I am so sorry to tell you, but it is beyond your pay grade. It's beyond my pay grade and your pay grade. You need somebody that deals with this, like a demonologist and exorcist, So, so no, I've not been dragged down because I don't want to do that.
I love that. So, as a medium, what is a demon? I mean, what is the essence of a demon? Was it a person? Is it something that was there when things started, the Big Bang, whatever it is? What is a demon, and what do they come from? Do you know those answers?
I know enough to be dangerous, let's put it that way, but not enough that I can really speak on the topic.
Sure.
I know that we can manifest demons ourselves. I really believe that with negativism. I've been on cases where we've had people that swear to God they've got an entity in the house and that it's going to attack them, and come to find out it's the environment that they live in is creating this. They just created a monster basically in there, and then all the people that are in the house can see this entity moving around, but all it is just a negative manifestation of everything that they've argued about, everything that has hurt them, everything that's disappointed them. And once you go in, because I do residential cases, once I go in and I realize that, I'll tell them, like, I really don't think a paranormal investigation is necessary. This isn't something that's paranormal. This is you manifesting negativism. Let's turn it around. I want you guys to focus on laughter, watch cartoons with the kids. I want you to get out of the house, go to the park, throw a football, laugh your asses off, watch a funny movie where you just laugh your butt off. And I'll check back with you in 2 weeks. And typically when I check back with them, there's no need for anything further down the line because that energy has just been dissipated and gone. Do I feel like there are people that can conjure up that stuff? Yes. Do I feel like that kid did that? Definitely. I saw it with my own eyes and it shocked me. completely because I had never seen a real life demon that close. And he wanted me to come over, and I'm like, hell no. Sorry.
Nope.
So
Nope.
where do
Sorry.
demons come from then?
I would think that it would be like the underground,
Mhm.
definitely underground. I'm not saying that there isn't necessarily a hell. I think we create that hell, like I talked about with the jailbird guy.
Yep.
But definitely feel like there's other opposing, things that are out there that could possibly create that. I've run into a serial killer that wanted to take a 13-year-old's life because he wanted to be elevated onto the next rung of the ladder, so to speak, is how he explained it to me. But yet, from who? I don't know.
Right.
He never got into that
Exactly.
with me.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a very sad residential case that we worked on. Luckily, they moved, so they got away from it. 13-year-old daughter who's a medium, and obviously not aware of her gifts and not aware of how to use them and what she's seeing, and she's completely scared as complete,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we were called in to do a cleansing, and I instantly picked up on this kid who was in his 20s that the apartment complex was built on his killing field. That's where he would take his victims and he would kill them. And he
Wow.
concentrated on young females, anywhere from 13 to 20. That was it. And so he wanted this one. He just said that, he wanted to continue on as he was in life. He wanted to continue on that way in the afterlife. And something was motivating him to try to take her life by her committing suicide. Because she was a straight A student, had no mental issues whatsoever, but she could see, same thing like me, she could see things and hear things that, this was one of those cases where this guy just suddenly wanted to have her cut her wrists the proper way, as he told her,
Mhm.
so that he could claim her soul to elevate him on the next rung of the ladder, is what he said.
So-
So there's forces beyond my understanding on that one for sure.
So from that story, I guess the question in my head is, does a person, when they die, let's say evil like that gentleman you're just talking about, do you have the option not to cross? Like for him not to cross, he wanted to stay. That shows that there's a choice.
Mhm.
As a medium, in your perspective, do you have the choice not to go? Your body's given up, your soul's leaving. Can you say, nope, I'm going to hang out here?
Yeah, I totally think we can. I really do. If it's for a reason, a season, or, whatever the logical explanation that we have at that time when we die, if it was like the guy from jail that just said I was a monster, I don't believe that I deserve to have anything differently than what I'm doing, which is a personal hell.
And
Yeah.
you can choose after a while or consciously to cross at any point, do you think, if you decide to stay?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you
But
and go ahead, Raven.
I was gonna say, would there also be the case of somebody who stays so long that they kind of forget that they are here? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
they can't cross because now their reality.
Yeah,
is what it is
they're
right now.
integrated into the society in a sense, even though they're not, alive. But correct, yes.
Would
That's
that be
like-
the
And there's
cleansing
one-
part then? When you go cleanse, is that what you're doing? Is you're letting him to leave?
Correct. Yeah, explaining to them that they can leave, that there is not going to be the judgment that they think that they're going to experience, and that.
Right.
And again, I can't make them leave. I can go in and I can do a cleansing and I can talk to them and tell them that, there are other things, there's another dimension, you need to go to that. You need to, this is your soul contract, you need to, you've fulfilled it, you need to move on. And I mean, I can do all of that, but unless they're willing to do it and they're ready to do it, it's just like me saying, Gabriel, I want you to take a drink of water right now. I can't force you to do that. I can't make you do that.
I almost took a drink of water.
Wow, I'm powerful. No.
Yeah. Power of suggestion, I love it.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is, I mean, we talked about that before. You said power of suggestion.
Suggestion, yeah.
Wow, that's a hard word suddenly.
Yeah.
You say
We'll give
that.
you a minute. You want to do it again? I loved
Yeah,
it.
I sure do.
Good.
I feel like I am now Gabriel. But you say that kind of power of suggestion, but then we also talk about that manifestation. Like we've talked about this before. Is it possible, we go in as investigators and we're pretty chill investigators. We go in, we kind of do what we do, And a lot of, we know as investigators, you're not always going to get stuff, but a lot of the time it might just be quiet because we're not so ramped up on, oh, there's a noise over there, and oh, there's this over here. That all being said, like we've talked about before, could you just be producing that and manifesting that in that space?
Correct. Absolutely. You can. Absolutely.
Well, I feel, at least when recently Raven and I were in Mullen, West Virginia. It was fascinating. When we were at what's that?
I said, I bet.
Yeah, it was beautiful, but we had the chance to be in a funeral home, and we had the experience where I feel it doesn't matter the time of day. If you just interact or if you just do a casual thing that you always do, I find you get more evidence because you're not creating anything. You're literally just living in the space. In fact, the majority, the most significant experiences I've had have been during broad daylight, me just going along my business. So in that instance, I do believe in a haunted funeral parlor, which is odd because I didn't think that people would hang out in a funeral parlor. Once you leave, you kind of go to the place that you know. But I do think that a lot of the energy there is from the feelings of the people that were there to mourn the ones that passed. And I think those feelings eventually do somehow come to life, if you will. And that's kind of what we were just talking about, is people are manifesting stuff. And I feel a lot of the places, we mentioned the Sally House and stuff like that, I think a lot of that is manifested through individuals. And when that happens, it doesn't have a life of its own, it just was created. How do you cleanse that then?
That's a good question.
That was a long way around to get there. I'm sorry.
No, but I totally get it. I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you explained it, because I was just going to say, it's Amy and Adam had a case where they literally, and I don't remember if it was in New Orleans or not, but they literally did that experiment where they literally went into a building because they had a suspicion that the energy that was in there was being manifested by people, by legend. By myth and legend, not necessarily evidential. There weren't any records to back up anything that they were getting, but everybody was going in there, and because of the fact, like, oh, it's here, oh, all of that manifested. So they did an experiment where they literally made up a name, a character, a backstory, a line, everything about it, and you know what? It took on a life of its own. Right. And literally, they started doing Estes box sessions and EVP sessions, and you would get that name coming through on the EVP. So yeah, it's true. You can totally manifest something. You taking a legend and just keep building upon it and building upon it and building upon it, until it becomes a life of its own. And as for cleansing it, that's an interesting question. I don't know that I would be able to effectively answer that question because I've not run into it myself to be able to know correctly how to handle that.
Well, I feel like that was Zombie Boy. Was that the Zombie Boy episode?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So crazy that you literally just started talking about that. When we were in Mullins, West Virginia, the owner over there, Heather, was actually talking about the Zombie Boy episode. So now that you just brought, literally we were just talking to her about that, and now you just brought it up. So
I'm a medium.
Interesting. You just created that just now.
If you can manifest a entity, if you will, just of an emotion, can you have the reverse and subside it, make it like it no longer exists? If you go in a haunted house, me being Gabriel Von Graves, walk in, right? And I'm a pretty chill guy, right? So I walk in this beautiful structure with all this history, and yet things are pushing me and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want this. Can I manifest it away? Because if you can manifest something to happen, can you manifest something not to be there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Mind over matter.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about the people that, power through being sick, for instance. If you're sick, you power through it. It's there, it's there, it's lingering in the back of your mind, but you're just not going to feed it, so to speak. So I feel
guess that kind of leads to another question. Do we feel those entities with their own emotions, right? Are we giving people the power over us? Can we just simply shut it off by saying, you don't exist and it no longer exists? I mean, is that a possibility?
I think it's a possibility. If it's something that's man-made up or you manifested it yourself, absolutely.
Right.
But
But
I
if something
found
that's
that,
organic, like a demon, we can't do that because it existed
right,
before us. Okay.
right, exactly. Well, and I've had cases where I've had two cases where it was two young men who had some psychoanalysis issues,
Hmm.
and one of them was he was bipolar. He did not know it. It's just like a switch went off one day, and the next thing you know, I was contacted, and I would be like at 12 o'clock midnight, I get a text message from him, and he'd be in his car because he was a door dasher, and he'd be like videotaping complete utter darkness out there. And again, I can see things like through video that you, Raven, might have taken a picture of or something because of the fact of the mediumship through the veil, seeing it through the veil, so to speak.
Sure.
But I'm looking at this and looking at the video going, there ain't nothing there. It's completely dark, and I hear the engine, that's it. I don't hear or see anything whatsoever. And I went down to Tucson where he lived, and I literally used my divination rods, my dowsing rods, one of my greatest tools that I'll use. And I literally had him turn his back to me. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying that I am a medical intuitive by any means of the imagination. So just put it out there. But I held my dowsing rods up and manifested in my mind, knowing that this is a health issue. And so as I was taking it, going down the dowsing rods down his body, at first when it hit his head, it just crossed over. And then as soon as I went down further, it stayed straight all the way down his body. So luckily I had a team member who suffers from bipolarism and schizophrenia, and she medicates for that. And so I had her sit down with him and talk to him about it. And we did find out a couple weeks later that he was clinically diagnosed as bipolar. So the things that he was seeing, and he was almost on the verge of a manic depressive state where he literally would stay up 24 hours. And she also experienced that too. It's, I guess, a side note, a side thing of bipolarism. And so she was literally able to help him through that process. We just told him, I said, we're not medical doctors, but we definitely advise you to go see a doctor in regards to this. And that was, that was the diagnosis, bipolarism. So you do have those cases where everyone feels like, because we've got paranormal entertainment out there now, where everybody feels like they've got something in their house.
Visualizing it, absolutely.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, well, good for you though for taking, and you've done an amazing job of coming in and then trying to actually diagnose something, or actually not just again saying, oh, everything's a ghost and everything's a spirit, and we get people like that. But I have to say credit to you for actually coming in and trying to actually see what could be wrong with this person. So
right. Thank you.
Kudos to you.
Well, again, I mean, I don't want to be these mediums that come in and they say, oh, yep, demon, or yep, you got something, and here, pay me some money. So that I've heard that too, where people like that 13-year-old I was referring to before earlier, they had a team go in there and charge $2,000 to go in there to find out what it was, but then they never took the evidence and handed it over to the couple, because that would be an additional $1,000, and then they just vanished.
Show me the money, Jesus.
Right.
And they didn't help the little girl. They did nothing to help the family.
One of the things that I noticed when it comes to the paranormal community is a lot of it is a money grab. And I talk about that and people get mad, but that's okay. I'm not here to be loved. I'm here just to have a conversation. So, and I do think that is a sad part. But if you have a gift, I think you need to be rewarded for that gift as well. So it is a double-edged sword. When it comes to like the paranormal hauntings and stuff, is it possible do you believe as a medium that there's parallel universes, that there are situations that the veil becomes so thin that things cross over?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
How many parallel universes do you feel have you experienced, or what can you speak on when it comes to parallel universes?
I don't know a lot about that. Again, I don't feel like I'm very educated to be able to discuss them with you guys sufficiently with the correct knowledge of it, but I do believe that it's there. It's just it's like a clear knowing. I just know that it is there, and I feel like so far what I've experienced, I would say, would be maybe 2 dimensions, honestly.
Really? Okay. Now, when it comes to you being a medium, since we're coming to the end of an hour, and I appreciate you being with us, What do you feel about cryptozoology? Do you think that there are cryptids out there that are in our dimension, or do you think that they cross over through some kind of parallel universe?
You know what? I would love to know more about the cryptids as well. I feel like it's like they cross over through parallel universes. I really do, because
Sure.
they're there and then they're gone.
Yeah.
Right?
And it was funny. We
Yeah.
just had this conversation. Who is it? I don't remember who we were having this conversation with. We were just literally discussing that, and we were all in concurrent with that, about the fact that we felt like there's a parallel universe, and they literally go bloop bloop, back and
Oh,
forth, basically.
right.
um, David from Shared Paranormal, when he was in Parachaney, the idea was that they were literally going to camp out like old-fashioned camping, out in the woods,
Right.
until he thinks he saw a cryptid, first of all. And I would say, yes, I feel like the description that he gave me fits very close to that. But I also was encountering, again, remote viewing wise, I was encountering elementals, water and land elementals.
Sure.
And wildly enough, one of the girls that was on his team does tarot card readings. And so she was like, oracle cards. So she was pulling out, she had the elements mixed into her oracle cards. And ironically, she drew fire, water, land, and air. And land and water were upside down. So she's like that. She goes, medium red is absolutely right. She goes, this is water and land, and they're working in tandem. And I said this too. They're working in tandem with the people that are buried in the cemetery, and they're protecting each other, which I found very fascinating. And I really want to go there now and really explore that option more.
Well, invite us with. That sounds like fun.
You need
Yeah.
to-
So, where do people find you? How do people get a hold of you? How do they watch you and get to know more about you?
You can find me on my website, which is mediumredaz.com. I'm also on Facebook, Medium Red, and Colleen Heldenbrand. I have 2 pages. I'm also part of the Within the Cauldron podcast crew, and I co-host with my fabulous, beautiful coven sister, Chrissy Dunham. And we do, again, podcast after podcast. We have a ton of podcasts. We're almost up to our 2-year anniversary and 200 episodes of that.
Oh, good for you.
So we're on YouTube, and we also stream on Facebook as well for that.
That's fantastic.
Love
So, Raven, before we head out tonight's broadcast, where we been? Why don't we plug some places we were just at, like the Bigfoot Fest, and that was in Stanton, Kentucky. You ever been, Medium Red? Oh, you need to
I
go.
have
It's a
not.
beautiful country.
It is-
Beautiful.
I would
You
love
need to
that.
It is
Raven, where have you been for the last couple days, where it feels like a couple weeks, feels like forever since we did an episode, because we were traveling. It's kind of hard to do that, and while you're driving.
So we did make it out to the Stanton Bigfoot Festival. Actually, it's called the Red River Gorge Bigfoot
Beautiful
Festival.
area. What a turnout that was.
At least 20,000 people. If
Oh, I was
not-
going to go 30.
I'm waiting for
cool.
the official numbers, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, it was a huge event. We met such wonderful people. We had some good friends stop by. Our
We
friend
did.
Dave and his wife
Yes.
from Dark Realm TV stopped by, and then
And hopefully we'll be seen on Dark Realm soon.
Yeah, we will be.
Wonderful people there creating that. You ever heard of Dark Realm?
I have
Medium
not,
Red?
no.
Oh,
That is
check them out.
awesome.
You can find them on Roku or Firestick. Good people,
Yeah,
good
okay.
programming. It's great.
Yeah, they have their own programming for lots of paranormal stuff on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great
Are
guys.
they part of the Paranormal Family channel, do you know?
Oh, I
On
don't-
Roku?
I don't know that.
That's a good question.
I'll
Look
check
at
it
you with
out.
the questions. Yeah.
But we did that. That was an amazing turnout. It was
Fun,
such a busy. We'd wanted to go live. There was a whole thing about wanting to go live and show the whole place, but we were literally so busy that entire day that we could not.
It was crazy.
It
And
was-
then we were at a cabin in the Appalachian Mountains, and Medium Red. This is great, clean. This is great. We were in the Appalachian Mountains. We didn't know you're supposed to close your shades. We
No,
didn't
your
know.
curtains. We didn't. We
Your
didn't.
curtains.
know
Yeah, we didn't know that. But I was in the middle of doing a reels, and all of a sudden I saw a face inside the cabin, and I stopped and I looked, and then so I ran into the cabin, and something darted into the bathroom. But the Appalachian Mountains. Have you ever been to the Appalachian Mountains?
Nope,
The-
but they're very active.
Feelings that you get in that area, the deeper you go, the more awake everything feels.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely stunned how alive things were. And I mean the energies, whether it be because of the history, all the wilderness there, but there is definitely folklore that seems to come alive at every turn. And we were both stunned, but
I mean,
how often it happened and how thick it was when it came to the paranormal in that area.
there were strange noises, and what I was thinking too, you know, you get the full moon that night, and you also had all of this energy from the area. So all of these people came into this area, and now
Just a tiny little town, and all of a sudden people just descended on it. It was awesome.
and
No,
so
wow,
I'm
that's
pretty sure
incredible.
that helped the energy of the evening. It was, you could just hear, it was weird noises, just a strange vibe that night, and then Gabriel had that experience, so that was
That's
something else
incredible.
for sure.
Palatable. It's almost palatable. Yeah.
Yes. And then we
Yeah.
went to West Virginia, which was a beautiful drive, beautiful countryside.
Virginia is beautiful.
Yeah. And then we went to Mullen. Tell us about Mullen.
So we were in Mullins, West Virginia. We went to the Coalfield Manor, which is a funeral home, or former.
Yeah, we did.
And they invited us out there, so we definitely jumped on that. And
Yeah, it was fun.
were able to do an investigation there. Did catch an EVP, maybe
A couple of them. So in the middle of your interview, we actually had, I heard two voices. We all did. We actually stopped in the middle of the interview.
Voice. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I have to go back, and I know I'm gonna find it as we're interviewing, and probably try to cut that clip out if we can hear it good enough. But yes, it was literally, we were in the middle of an interview and we could hear a voice. And then we did get some other EVPs after that. I might have been poked, but I love, and I say it all the time, I love to have experiences and those kinds of things, but like I'm also a skeptic in the same way of like, was that a poke legit, or was that my muscle twitching? I don't know, but it did feel like a poke. And they did say that there is a small child that hangs out underneath the embalming
The
table.
embalming room.
I was
Yeah.
in that room a lot. And around that same time, around that poke, we also got the sound of a
Mhm.
Oh.
So I was like,
And
no.
chewing gum. There's like a child like chewing candy. It was crazy. It was weird.
It sounds like I'm asking questions and just doing this the whole time, but I'm not. I'm really not. It's not me. I don't make those noises as soon as I'm talking. It was very odd, but you can hear it. So
I can attest. You know, I just did an interview with you, so.
I'm not chewing gum.
That's right.
And we
my
were
son
able to.
goes, "What is that noise?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"I don't know what that noise
Well, it
is."
definitely was something, and then we had the unique experience of actually sitting in and laying in a casket, which
Oh, I did
was a
see
very
that.
unique perspective because it's a very oddity, and everything about my body was telling me, "Don't go in. This isn't where you belong," and it was a very unique experience. But if anybody has a chance to go to the Red River Gorge Festival next year, I would definitely recommend it. It was a lot of fun, a lot of families, a lot of people, and you could meet us. So that's
Yeah,
always
we get to meet some of the most amazing people. We get super lucky, and I say this all the time when we do these shows too. We get to talk to the coolest people, like you, Medium Red.
do.
Like, you've been
all about the experience.
absolutely fascinating tonight. I think we could talk. I could talk to you for a lot longer because you have a lot of stuff that you brought up that I'm like, 2 hours.
But we have to have her on again. Is
We
what
have to
do.
have her. We do
Part
because
2 of Medium Red. Absolutely.
Oh, I
there's
love
some
it.
stuff
Thank
that you
you.
said. Yeah, that I really am like
We'll
about.
definitely have to have you on Within the Cauldron too, our podcast as well.
Absolutely.
Please do.
Well-
We'd love to be on.
As we bring tonight's episode to a close, and I hate to do it because it flew by so much, because of you, Medium Red, you're great.
Thank you.
We'd like to extend our sincere thank you to our guest, Medium Red Colleen Heldenbrand. I don't think I said that right once again.
That's okay.
You messed that one up.
For sharing your experience, insights, and remarkable journey into the world of mediumship. We appreciate you for spending your time with us this evening and allowing your audience and our audience a glimpse into the work you do to help bridge the gap between the living and those who have passed beyond the veil. I think you did a wonderful job at that. And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you for joining us on another journey into the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Darkwoods Paranormal is proudly produced once again by Unbox Media LLC. Check those guys out. And whether you're looking for a podcast production, content creation, branding, business consulting, marketing strategy, or media development, Unexplained Unbox Medium LLC helps turn imagination into reality. Isn't that right, Raven?
That's right.
So be sure to visit those guys, and also visit Medium Ren's stuff. She's awesome. While you're there, make sure you let her know that you've seen her on this podcast, and she is also a podcaster, and I don't think we touched too much on that, but she has a lot of stuff, and please check her out. Once again, I'm Gabriel Von Graves, Raven Knight, and Medium Red, which is an awesome name, and I don't know if it just call you Medium Red or Colleen. I get confused. I love it.
Call me Red. That's
I
what
love it.
people do.
Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, please help us continue growing this amazing community. Like, follow, subscribe, and share your content whenever you find us. You'll find us at darkwoodsparanormal.com, our Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and all the other platforms that are fun and exciting to check us out. And I want to thank our audience once again for spending an hour and some with us. It was a great talking to everybody. Until next time, you guys be safe out there. Isn't that right, Raven?
Be safe.
Hang out a little bit, please, Colleen. Thank you very much for joining us.